Alright YouTube, this is Christmas. I'm going to do an installation video for the Troy Modular Chassis System, the MCS, and I'm going to use this M1A. I've gone ahead and I've removed the muzzle brake or flash hider, depending on which model you have, and I've removed the rear sight. It's all gone. Honestly, it takes about 2 minutes to knock this out, the rear sight, and probably about 10 minutes to get the front sight off, along with your flash hider, because you have to have a special tool to remove the castle nut. And once you get the castle nut off, it's kind of a pain. I went ahead and skipped over that. You can probably find that anywhere else on YouTube or online, M14 forum. Any of those will help you out. But I've gone ahead and removed those, and this is where it's going to mount here. That's why that has to come off. The rear sight has to come off. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to remove the gas system. I've already removed the spring and spring guide. So we're going to go ahead and take this off. I've loosened this. This is a 3/8, by the way. Go ahead and spin this off. Mine's kind of a pain in the ass. Alright, get that off, get it to that point. What you're going to have to do next is take a brass hammer, or if you're just loose enough, to take a brass hammer and tap it off. Careful when you take this off. You don't want to damage the crown, which is pretty important. You're going to have to remove this. You're never going to use this again unless you switch back to your wooden or synthetic stock. Okay? So now that you've gotten it to this point where there's nothing left on here, you're going to go ahead and you're going to take this out of the bag. It may have been assembled, it may not have been. But it's 2 screws hold it together, and this is what's going to hold on the front. Go ahead, slide this on here. It slides right in there. Where this used to be, alright, now we have that slid on there. Why I have this here, this spot in here is still large enough for you to use your shims. If you use shims on yours and utilize your gas system, it's controversy. Some people like it, some people don't. That's for another video, but the shims can still be used with this. So go ahead and slide that back on there. Take the gas system. I still have the piston in there. Slide the gas system in. Alright. Gas system's in there, and this is kind of loose. It's supposed to be. You're not supposed to have it tightened yet until the rifle is assembled. Go ahead and tap this. Make sure it's in there good. Alright. Brass hammers. Always use brass or some kind of gunsmithing hammer, wooden hammer, dead stops, any of those that are made for doing this. Don't use the hammer out of the, utility drawer, a ball peen hammer. You're just going to ruin things, especially threads that and, mash down the front. Okay, next you have your piston. It's going to slide right back in there. I have that in there. There we go. It's in the right spot. Take this, slide it right back on. Put them in the right direction. Spin that back on. Second. Alright. It's on there. Go ahead and put this back. Going to finger tight everything for right now. You're going to come back, Basically everything you screw down, aside from your not your gas plug, but anything from Troy, needs to be Loctited after you final fit everything. This rifle has a jackhammer effect. That means when it fires, it moves about 5 different directions at once. With the way the round, it recoils, the round comes out, the piston hits, your operating rod, slams everything forward, and everything goes right back forward. It has a jackhammer effect. After a couple hundred rounds, everything will be loose again, unless you Loctite it down. And I know this for a fact because I didn't Loctite this when I put this together the first time. I thought I'd just hand tight everything, and I put about 200 rounds through this, and then I went to take it apart. Everything was finger tight. Okay, so I didn't even need a screwdriver almost to disassemble it. So Loctite the things I'm going to show you. I'm going to go ahead and run the spring and operating rod back in here. Hopefully everybody can see what I'm doing, which this is pretty simple. If you own an M1A, you already know how to do this, or you can find another video to do it. Okay, so we're almost there. Now that you've gotten this on here and it's loose as it's supposed to be, we're going to go ahead and we're going to grab your top rail. My rail, I've already installed Magpul backup sights. I like them. I mismatch the colors. It's just what I'm doing. Okay. You're going to go ahead and slide this on here down the front just like it is, and it'll take you a second to get it going right. More than a second. A couple seconds. Oh, there we go. Okay, you got that on there? And the back of this is going to slide into where your rear sights used to be. Okay? So the rear sights have to come out. This sets in where the rear sights used to be. And the reason for that is you have these 2 screws. And these are one of the screws you're going to have to Loctite after you get it in there. Okay? Go ahead and I'm going to finger tighten this one in here for right now, just a second. And you got this one. Just going to finger tighten that in there. They go on each side. And you just tighten them in there. And we'll come back to that. Alright, you got these in there. Next, you have your screw rayer. Just like if you had a mount, some kind of scope mount on here, this screw would screw right in here. Locks it down. This is a 3/8, just like your front gas plug. So, just tighten it down. Loctite this. This was also a screw that I found came loose after firing. Next, you have the lower of the chassis. Okay, the lower is simple. It has a takedown pin, just like an AR-15, except for when you push it in there, it doesn't protrude far enough for you to use your finger to push out. So you're going to have to use a punch or something else, and honestly it taps out. It locks almost or about the same as an AR-15 or M16, M4, whatever your fancy is. But this goes ahead and it locks. It slides right in here, just like the previous stock did. And it locks in right here. Okay. And you just push that locking pin. All right. And you're almost there. This does have a cutout. If you did have a full auto or something like that, if you had the selector lever for full auto capabilities, say you had an original M14 and you have your class 3, probably very few of you will have that, unfortunately. But you're going to go ahead and take it. We'll turn it over. In the bottom, here, 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 and here, there are 4 set screws. And what you do with those screws is you're going to have to take an Allen key and you're going to loosen them up. And you're going to bring them out and you're going to take your trigger assembly and it slides in there just like it does with the M1, or the M1A, the M14, or M1 Grands, and you have to adjust those out to the point where when you push it down, when it feels tension, you are 1/8 away from your trigger. So right about there, I don't know if anyone can see that, barely enough space for my punch to slide through there, and that's where it needs to be on the tightness. And then after you get it there, put a little Loctite on those screws. Those I didn't see come loose, but this gun shakes so much, I wouldn't be surprised if it came loose a few hundred rounds later. But you got that locked in there, and for the most part, you are finished, aside from adding your muzzle brake. I'm using a Troy Industries, the Medieval. I like it. It looked good. It was really cool, I guess. You know, muzzle punch someone to death or something. And you get that on there, and then basically you just tighten it down until it's timed to the right direction, logo up for that, and you can just start adding your optics. Last time I was playing with this, I took it out. I was using a Aimpoint Comp M2, and it worked out for me. I liked it. But for the most part, that's start to finish how to install this. There are a few things I skipped over, like removing the muzzle brake, the original muzzle brake, removing the rear sight. I just felt it'd take too much time. If you have any questions, let me know. I think it's a good stock. Yeah, it's a bit hefty, but the rifle itself is kind of hefty if you're used to playing with any kind of ARs or any kind of lighter rifles. Yeah, it's going to be hefty, but it shoots. It's definitely a shooter. You know, I bought mine without the buttstock and the pistol grip, simply because I had some laying around the house. It was a little cheaper for me, but it is what it is. If anyone has any questions, let me know, and I'll try to answer them the best I can. And have a good one.